Hey, mech warriors, welcome to Bad Ben's Battle Mechs. I'm Bad Ben. Today I want to talk about some Triple Strength Myomer and how does it work. So, Triple Strength Myomer, or TSM as we'll probably call it from here on in, is a mobility and physical attack enhancement that takes up 6 internal slots but weighs nothing. So if you're making a custom mech and you have an extra 6 internal slots at the end, and you can just put in TSM essentially for free. The rules of TSM. To activate TSM, you must get your mech to 9 heat or above. That's all you got to do. What does it do? At exactly 9 heat, the mech receives +2 walking speed, but -1 for the 5 heat penalty, and running speed is recalculated from that. All heat modifiers still apply, including the +1 to fire at 8 heat, which does not apply to physical attacks. Just something I recently looked up. This part actually confused me the most because I went to some places and it said, oh, it increases your walking speed by 2. Others said it increases your walking speed by 1. It officially, it gives you increases your walking speed by 2, but you lose the -1 for the heat penalty at 5. So effectively, once you get to 9 heat, the Triple Strength Myomer is activated, and you get +1 walking speed, and then your running speed is recalculated from that normally. If you go above 9 heat, you get that -2 movement points, and your your bonus to movement is essentially nullified, right? And saying that the running speed is recalculated from that is important because running speed it won't always increase your running speed by a certain amount. It will either increase your running speed by 1 or 2. For example, if you start with a walking running of 4-6, you will be bumped up to 5-8, giving you +1 to walking, +2 to running. But if you start at 5-8, you will be bumped up to 6-9, and you will have +1 walking and +1 running. So actually, the best mechs that will get the most advantage start off with an even walking speed, so that you can bump it up to an uneven one, and you get that +2 to your running speed. The other benefit is at 9 heat or above. I wrote that wrong. Physical attack damage is doubled. This applies also to most physical weapon attacks. Essentially, you can think of it like this. If you're swinging the weapon with the arm, then the Triple Strength Myomer will affect the physical weapon attack. If you're using something like a switchblade, which has its own kind of like ejection mechanism, then the Triple Strength Myomer does not apply to that physical weapon, right? Because the switchblade like pops out with its own power, and that power isn't affected by the Triple Strength Myomer. But if you have a hatchet or a mace or a sword, something that you're swinging with your arm at an opponent, then the physical weapon damage will apply. So that's the basic rules of how Triple Strength Myomer works in classic Battletech. In Alpha Strike, it is actually quite a bit different. And I'll read that. When a mech with Triple Strength Myomer, TSM, and it will be written just TSM on the Alpha Strike card, has a heat scale level of 1 or higher, it gains 2 additional movement points. When at heat scale 1, it also ignores the movement reduction from high heat. Higher heat scales reduce movement normally. So it's actually quite a lot easier to activate your triple strength Myomer, as I believe in Alpha Strike you can simply say, I'm going to overheat, and bring yourself to that heat level 1, regardless of whether you actually have an overheat value of 1. Even if you have overheat 0, you can still say, well, this turn I'm going to overheat 1, and then the next turn your triple strength Myomer will take effect. And as long as you don't go above level 1 heat, you will gain 2 additional movement points. And when attacking, when an overheating unit deals damage from a physical attack, increase that damage by 1. So the physical attack damage in Alpha Strike is significantly lower than the physical attack damage in BattleTech, where it doubles your physical attack damage. In Alpha Strike, you'll only ever get +1 to your damage. Which I think is, it's a bit of a trade-off. It's much weaker for physical attacks, but on the other hand, it's much easier to activate and manage than it is in Classic BattleTech. And that's pretty much all I'm going to say about Alpha Strike. It's really not all that complicated, and using it isn't very difficult. Now, in Classic BattleTech, that is a different story. So, TSM can be tricky to use. It requires a lot of addition. You're going to have to add up all of your heat from all your weapons and try to manage that very closely, and trying to keep your heat scale at exactly 9 for the most benefit. So, I think there's 2 ways to think about how to use Triple Strength Myomer. Are you going to use it? Is this going to be something you plan on using for the entirety of the game? Like, I want that plus movement as much as possible, which is a good strategy, in my opinion, and use it all the time. In that case, then very close heat management to keep yourself at exactly 9 is required. If the other way is thinking about it, well, I'm going to let my mech heat up over a couple of rounds. I'm not going to manage my heat, and I'll be at heat 9. I'll manage it to get to heat 9 when we're in physical attack range, right? So you're not worried about the movement benefit having it the entire time. It's just going to be something that is going to allow you to overheat for several turns, and then once you're in physical attack range, then you can really take advantage of it. Yes, energy weapons are almost required for Triple Strength Myomer to be useful, really, in my opinion, as you can shoot them anytime without losing ammo. So this is really only applicable if you're planning on taking full advantage of the Triple Strength Myomer all the time to get that movement benefit, and that +1 to hit that you get from 8, right? That +1 to fire isn't going to bother you too much. For example, maybe you have a bunch of pulse lasers which are -2, and so that can even it out a little bit. Yes. Because if, for example, on the first round, let's say I really want to take advantage of my Triple Strength Myomer the whole time, on the first round, I'm going to want to have it activated by the second round, right? You can only ever activate it by the second round because you need to get to 9 heat in the first round, and you can't start the game at 9 heat. Yes, shutting down heat sinks is not ideal, as you can only do it at the end of the previous turn, which I've found actually can lead to committing yourself to one movement type. So if I really want to say, okay, I have to keep myself at 9 heat to get the absolute most advantage, right? Getting over 9 heat I'm gonna lose my movement advantage. Then having to shut down your heat sinks the turn before, and it's almost worse if you have double heat sinks because you can only reduce by 2, and then trying to calculate, okay, exactly how many weapons am I going to fire next turn, and what is my movement next turn. Um, will all have to be kind of calculated the turn before, because you can only shut down your heat sinks at the end of the previous turn. And I found that then it can limit. You're going to say, well, I can get to 9 heat exactly. This really isn't always a problem, especially if you have a really good weapons loadout that will allow you to vary your um, heat, by shooting something. Small lasers are essentially the things they can let you go up by 1 or 2. But I found that shutting down heat sinks can be a little bit of a problem. Also, so technically in the rules for the game, as far as I can tell, it's not allowed to start the game with heat sinks shut down. You can only shut down your heat sinks at the end of a turn, which I don't know, I would maybe as a house rule, I would say, yeah, you can start the game with a few heat sinks shut down. But as far as I can tell in the rules, you can only do it at the end of the turn. So that means that you're only actually going to be able to, if you need to shut down heat sinks to be able to get to 9 heat, you're going to have to shut down heat sinks at the end of the first turn, meaning you can only get to 9 heat in the second turn, meaning you can only actually take advantage of the Triple Strength Myomer in the third turn, right? If you say you have a house rule, you can start the game with a certain amount of heat sinks shut off, then it doesn't become an issue, right? Also, weapons on the same. A lot of this is very specific and aren't always really a problem. But weapons on the same arm as a physical weapon can get in the way of keeping your TSM on. So if you're looking at a mech, and if you're going in for your physical attack and with a hatchet, but you also have a large laser on that arm, that turn, before you do your physical attack, you won't be able to shoot your large laser on that arm. Of course, you can always just kick, which is also a pretty good idea. These are just really little technicalities that I found out over playing lots of games with Triple Strength Myomer. So these are really just things to look at when we're looking at mechs to see, is that a good mech with Triple Strength Myomer with TSM? Yes, and then Brad actually brings me to the last point here. Most mechs with TSM are designed very, very badly. If you're not using custom mechs, if you're using standard mechs built, and you're looking for a good mech with Triple Strength Myomer, it can be very difficult. And I'm going to show you now. We're going to close this. And we're going to look at a few examples of Triple Strength Myomer. First of all, here you can see you have a different movement in brackets to the side. That's what your movement when your Triple Strength Myomer is activated will be, right? And as you can see, it doesn't affect your jumping movement at all. So this is the Wolverine 9K that does have Triple Strength Myomer. And if you're looking for it, you can find it here in a few different places, right? There it is. There it is. And there will be 6 of those, right? There's 3 more here. Anyways. So why is this a terrible... This is a really bad TSM mech, in my opinion. Even though I really wish it were great, because I love the Wolverine, This one, unfortunately, is pretty bad. We look at its heat sinks. It has 10 double heat sinks, meaning it sinks 20 heat per turn. How much heat does it do? Let's look in the heat column. Its snub-nosed PPC does 10 heat, and the SRM4 does 3 heat. So that's 13 heat in total. Even if I jump my maximum, which is 5 to build up 5 heat, I'm building up 18 heat, right? And I sink 20 per turn. This means this mech definitely needs to shut down heat sinks if it ever wants to get its Triple Strength Myomer on. And then it has very few options as far as weapons goes to manage the Triple Strength Myomer, right? And let's take another look at a terrible one, the Neanderthal here. And you see they often have hatchets, and I think the Wolverine had a sword, right? They have their physical attack weapons to take advantage of that Triple Strength Myomer, but are designed in such a way that it's extremely difficult to manage. Not Neanderthal as well. In its heat column, it has two snub-nosed PPCs that do heat, that do in total 20 heat. It can sink 22 heat. And it can jump 0. So the maximum it could do is 2 heat from the running, right? And then 10 heat. You get the idea. It's essentially impossible to ever get this mech to the ideal heat of 9 and stay at 9 for a couple of turns, right? Bring me to the last terrible example. I don't know who even designed this mech. This is the Locust, right? It has only 10 single heat sinks, but it can do 3 heat per turn with weapons. It can't jump, so meaning if it ran, it would do 5 heat in the first turn. If you disabled every one of your heat sinks, and that's only if they let you disable the heat sinks before the game starts. If you have to do that in the first turn, then you have to disable all of your heat sinks in the first turn, run and shoot, and you still won't even be at 9 heat to activate it, right? It's a pretty terrible design. Which brings me into the good ones. Let's take a look at a few really good examples of Triple Strength Myomer. The Night Sky. I love the Night Sky. First of all, I just want to talk about the Knights. Like, it really takes advantage of this Triple Strength Myomer. It starts with a walking speed of 6'9", which is fast already for a 50-ton mech, and boosts it up to 7'11", which is like, that's fast light mech territory, right? It can jump 6. This is for controlling your Triple Strength Myomer. The ability to jump so much really helps in being able to manage it. Then look at the weapons loadout, right? We have a large pulse laser, or just look at the heat: 10, 5, 2, 4, 2, right? Lots of, and pulse lasers. So once it gets to 9 heat and has that +1 to hit, all those pulse lasers are still -1 to hit, which is, it's still an advantage. Then it's got that hatchet, which normally, I wish they said this in brackets afterwards, but they don't. But the hatchet that does normally 10 damage to one location does 20 damage to one location. That's an AC 20, right? You can really mangle a mech if you can get into melee range. Which look at it. With that movement, you're going to be able to move where you want, right? It has 22 double heat sinks, so it can, even when it's gotten to 9 heat. You can still shoot quite a bit to maintain that level of 9 heat, right? This is just a really, really excellent mech that really takes advantage of the Triple Strength Myomer. We'll look at another one, the Nodachi. This is just great. Like, look at this. Look at all the different. It's got 2 medium VSP, so there's 14, 18. I'm not going to add it all up for you right now, but you can see, and it even has those one. It's got multiple small lasers, which is going to allow you. And look at the heat. It has 28 heat sinks, but it can absolutely get up to heat quite quickly if it does a couple of alpha strikes. And it's all lasers. You're not wasting any ammo. If you in the first turn nobody's in range or nobody's in view, line of sight, you can just shoot the ground and you're not wasting any ammo. You just get yourself up to heat. It doesn't get +2 to running, which is a little, I mean, yeah, it is what it is. But for a 70-ton mech to be able to go 6.9, that's incredible. And then the coup de grace, as they say, look at this, 18 damage with that mace turns into 36 damage. That, I mean, that can cripple pretty much all, that can outright destroy all light mechs, probably most medium mechs too. I mean, and 36 points of damage to a single location is devastating. It's just devastating. This is an amazing triple strength Myomer mech. A good heavy, and actually, this is one point. The heavier they get, the harder it is to use. An assault mech with triple strength Myomer, it's slow to begin with. It does get a modest speed boost from the TSM, but it's still going to be too slow to confidently get into melee range when you want to get into melee range, right? So that's why I think, a heavy mech. This is a very, very good heavy mech with TSM. The Vindicator 5L. This is, I love this. I love this mech so much. Has that sword. So the sword only does 6 damage, and therefore, when the TSM is activated, it only does 12 damage, which isn't devastating, really. But swords are pretty neat. They're pretty good. I don't know the rules for swords off the bat. But look at that heat. How much heat can it sink? It's got 10 double heat sinks. It can sink 20, but it can easily get up to heat. All lasers, many pulse lasers, right? Got medium pulse lasers, medium pulse laser there. And starts at 4.6 and then goes up to 5.8. It's got that jumping, which is going to just make it easier even to manage to stay at exactly 9 heat. Right? Excellent mech. And that brings me to, this is, so this is an assault mech. There is even 100-ton, I think there is a Night Star that maybe has TSM. But I find that this Banshee with this weapons loadout is just, I mean, it's really, really excellent. You're going to get up to heat. It's got 26 heat. It can sink 26 heat per turn, but it can absolutely get up to it can get up to 9 heat fairly easily, and then it has that hatchet that does an unbelievable 38 damage to an enemy. But even the boosted speed is 5.8, which for a 95-ton mech, it's very good. It has to be said actually that a lot of these mechs that do have very good triple strength Myomer also do have a XL fusion engine, which does make it more vulnerable. But really to get that extra speed boost, speed boost, spood beast. I gotta write that one down. Speed boost. I don't even know what I was saying anymore. Anyways, yeah, this is the Banshee 8S, and that 38 damage is that's gonna wreck anybody if it hits. This is a really, really, really fun mech. However, oh yeah, I was talking about the XL engines. Yeah, I think the Vindicator also has. No, the Vindicator, that's one of the benefits of this Vindicator. It only has a fusion engine, a standard fusion engine, so it is not quite as susceptible. The Nodachi, yes, has that XL fusion engine, which makes sense because of, look at that speed. You couldn't get 5.8 on a 70-ton mech without extra light fusion engine, I don't believe. Well, you could, but it would weigh so much. Night Sky also, yeah, the Night Sky also has that XL fusion. Anyways, yes. So that really just brings me to the end of this short video on Triple Strength Myomer and how to use it, and a few examples of good and really bad TSM mechs to look out for. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, I hope to see you next time. Whatever it is, bye-bye.